John F. Kennedy and the Cuban Missile Crisis by Johann Joseph Garrison, Sophie Osborne, Eleanor Taylor. Who was John F. Kennedy? John F. Kennedy was the 35th President of America. Kennedy was born on the 29th of May, 1917 in Massachusetts. He came from a wealthy and political Irish-American family. He was educated at Harvard University, where he graduated in 1940. Kennedy served naval service in the Pacific War in World War II before entering politics in 1946. After a mere 6 years in Parliament, Kennedy was elected to the Senate. In 1960, Kennedy won a presidential nomination, defeating Richard Nixon in the election that year. Now at 43, Kennedy was the youngest US president and the first Catholic head of state. He presented himself as a youthful president for a new generation. His wife, Jackie, added glamour to the presidency, although it was later revealed that she had numerous affairs. So here we have a quote from JFK: "Things do not happen, things are made to happen." What was the Cuban Missile Crisis? The Cuban Missile Crisis, or the October Crisis, was a 13-day conflict between the United States and the Soviet Union regarding the Soviet Union deploying missiles in Cuba. During the time of the crisis, John F. Kennedy was president, making him responsible for solving the potential calamity. So, how did JFK solve the problem? In October 1962, an American spy plane photographed nuclear missile sites being built by the Soviet Union on the Caribbean island of Cuba. This spy plane was discreet, as President Kennedy did not want the Soviet Union and Cuba to know that they were under surveillance. After capturing the Soviets' missiles on camera, Kennedy secretly met with his advisors to discuss the problem. After much deliberation, Kennedy decided the best course of action was to place a naval blockade, or a ring of ships, around Cuba. This quarantine worked to prevent the Soviets from bringing in more military supplies via the sea. Next, Kennedy ordered the removal of missiles already on the island and the destruction of building sites. On the 22nd of October, 1962, President Kennedy made the public aware of the missiles in a televised address.
Good evening, my fellow citizens. This government, as promised, has maintained the closest surveillance of the Soviet military buildup on the island of Cuba. Within the past week, unmistakable evidence has established the fact that a series of offensive missile sites is now in preparation on that imprisoned island. The purpose of these bases can be none other than to provide a nuclear strike capability against the Western Hemisphere.
Next came a tense few days, as no one was sure how Nikita Khrushchev, the Soviet leader, would respond to the US's demands. Eventually, Khrushchev came forward, and both leaders discussed and disagreed on the devastating consequences of a nuclear war. They publicly agreed that the Soviets would dismantle the weapon sites on the condition that the United States would not invade Cuba. Kennedy and Khrushchev made another deal, one that stayed secret for over 25 years. Under this deal, the US removed its nuclear missiles from Turkey. In the following year, tension lessened between the Soviet Union and the United States. At an address at the American University in Washington, D.C., Kennedy urged Americans to let go of Cold War stereotypes and myths. He called for peace and diversity.
What kind of a peace do I mean, and what kind of a peace do we seek? Not a Pax Americana, enforced on the world by American weapons of war. Not the peace of the grave or the security of the slave. I am talking about genuine peace, the kind of peace that makes life on earth worth living, the kind that enables men and nations to grow and to hope and build a better life for their children. Not merely peace for Americans, but peace for all men and women. Not merely peace in our time, but peace in all time. I speak of peace, therefore, as the necessary, rational end of rational men. I realize the pursuit of peace is not as dramatic as the pursuit of war, and frequently the words of the pursuers fall on deaf ears. But we have no more urgent task Our problems are man-made, therefore they can be solved by man, and man can be as big as he wants. No problem of human destiny is beyond human beings. Man's reason and spirit have often solved the seemingly unsolvable, and we believe they can do it again. And if we cannot end now our differences, at least we can help make the world safe for diversity. For in the final analysis, our most basic common link is that we all inhabit this small planet. We all breathe the same air. We all cherish our children's futures, and we are all mortal.
Now for a 3-point review on the 3 main facts of the Cuban Missile Crisis. Number 1, John F. Kennedy sent an American spy plane to Cuba which photographed missiles made by the Soviet Union. Number 2, John F. Kennedy set up a naval blockade around Cuba, calling for the Soviets to demolish the missiles. Number 3, Kennedy and Rostov, the Soviet leader, agreed that the missiles were simply too dangerous and they were demolished in exchange for the USA agreeing not to invade Cuba. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.